Greetings, ghouls and goblins. We are all interested in the future, for that is where you and I are going to spend the rest of our lives. And remember, my friend, future events such as these will affect you in the future. You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here. And for now, for the first time, we are bringing to you the full story of what happened on that fateful podcast. We are bringing you all the evidence, based only on the secret testimony of the miserable souls who survived this terrifying ordeal. The incidents, the places. My friend, we cannot keep this a secret any longer. Let us punish the guilty. Let us reward the innocent. My friend, can your heart stand the shocking facts about the Reely Scared podcast? What's good, my ghouls and goblins? Welcome to the Reely Scared podcast, your weekly horror movie show where every single week we are joined by special guests to discuss a horror film of their choice. My name is Taylor, and I'm always joined by the wonderful, the immortal top goblin himself, Connor Breedlove. How are you?
I'm good. What an intro, man. It sounded familiar, but I know that was all from the top of the head, right?
You know, you don't get a good, strong cold open here on the show too often. And yeah, ignore, if you could see my eyes kind of tracing over like I was reading something, ignore that. That's just some weird artifact in post-production. Not a problem. Oh man, I'm so excited for this episode, Connor. It is a cold, miserable day out there, my friend. It's been
it is
polar vortex Armageddon all week.
Yeah, I only ventured out to get some alcohol per usual on Thursdays.
You got to go out and get the essentials, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I ventured out at all. I did go out and get the mail in my bathrobe yesterday and felt like I was so cold I was going insane by the time I got back in the house. It's terrible out there. So I'm shacked up. I'm hiding out, and all week I've just been losing myself in the world of Ed Wood. So I've been having an interesting time psychologically. I'm super excited for this episode. This is a big one for me. Like I said earlier, we have guests on here every single week. If you haven't watched it before, we have a new guest every single week to talk horror films of their choice. And if I can pull back the curtain here a little bit, when we were first coming up with this idea and this concept, and we were thinking of people that we could bring on.
Oh, no. All right. Taylor went into the Upside Down, apparently. I'm not sure what he was going to say, but I think he was going to talk about how these guests that we're going to bring on tonight, they were the first guests that we kind of wanted to bring on.
Am I here?
You're back.
Okay, here's the next part I should say. I've been having terrible internet issues every single week, or every day this week, where my internet will just drop out for a blip. So if I turn into a still image or sound like a robot of some sort, I've gone into the Upside Down. I'm coming back. Just have faith. I'm coming back. So don't lose faith. That's the other thing I should say. It's been all week. Got those damn Spectrum folks coming out tomorrow. I don't know. What were you saying? I came in and interrupted you. What were you saying?
I was just trying to put together the pieces of what you were saying. These were the guests we have tonight they were kind of the first guests that we kind of threw out, like their names, like we want them on.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. Some of the first people I thought of were the Mummy and Monkey. I said, oh, that'd be so cool if we could get them on this show. And we did it. We pulled it out. We're going to bring them on tonight. I am so excited to have them joining us for this episode. If you haven't watched before, what's going on? John Biggins in the chat. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't watched before, be sure, you're either checking us out on YouTube or Twitch or Facebook. Be sure to subscribe, follow, like whatever you do on that platform so you never miss one of our broadcasts. Not only do you have the Reely Scared podcast, but you have things like Wrestle Reel, our pro wrestling show, Real Talk, our more broad movie show. Spin from the Reel, our movie trivia schmodown show. We've got so much going on this channel all week, practically broadcasting every single day. So be sure to check us out on those respective platforms. And the audio always goes up on audio podcast channels like Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, all the hits, wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. We are there lurking in the shadows as well. So be sure to go find us and, leave a little cutie. You know what I'm saying, Connor? Leave a little cutie score.
Just a little cutie.
Little rate and review. It doesn't have to be that long, that elaborate. It doesn't have to be your whole life story. Just leave an itty bitty little cutie review. Helps us out. And we love to see it. And we'll read those reviews out on the show. Another great way to support us. It's true. The Mummy and Monkey are awesome. Can't wait to bring them in here and get started tonight. If you want to support the show, one of the best ways to do that is to head on over to wretchedapparel.com, our wonderful spooky sponsor. And when you check out, be sure to use promo code Reely Scared for 10% off of your purchase. Like I said before, it's freezing, it's cold, it's miserable. Get some great new horror-themed sweatshirts on there. Not only do you help out a small new business, not only do you support this show, but you also will save 10% on your purchase, a little extra coin in your pocket, and you get some great new clothes too. So everybody wins when you shop with wretchedapparel.com and use promo code Reely Scared. Oh man, I'm so excited to bring these guys in. You missed us last week too. Let me say we had a huge episode. Talked about Midsommar with our friends Kayla and Paige for a whopping 4 hours. Now, don't expect a 4-hour episode tonight. I think we're going to keep it a little more reasonable. But if you missed us last week, we talked about Midsommar for such a long period of time that the favorite ghouls started watching the movie in the midst of the episode and got to the credits before we ended the show. It was a true marathon. A lot of interesting ideas, thoughts, and theories came in that episode. So we're talking about great horror movies with different guests every single week. And this week is no exception. So why don't we bring them in, our special guest this evening?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. They are the hosts of the Scary Hangout, Janet Takei, Grim Gory, the Mummy and the Monkey.
Time for go to podcast.
That you said that just as I think you actually said that more clearly than Tor Johnson did any of his lines in the film.
More than likely, that's true. Hey, we're cousins.
Hey, Groovy Ghoulies. Hey, Taylor. Hey, Connor.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, how are you guys this evening?
Doing good.
We're cold too. We're in Cleveland, Ohio, so it's a little bit chilly here. Not as cold as Texas, but who would you ever think I'd ever say that? That's
that's kind of a weird. I never thought I'd hear that.
Cleveland, warmer than Texas.
Yeah, surprisingly, for the first time ever. So I guess mark it in your almanacs. Oh man, we got our man Roger Condors in the chat. He was on the show several months as well. Hi Roger, good to see you. Got John checking us out. Great to see you in the chat. Welcome. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to have you guys on tonight. Like I said, as you can tell, got the shirt kind of peeking into frame. I'm a little bit of a fan.
You're the best dressed. You've got one of our shirts on.
Geeking out a little bit over here. So excited to have you guys on the show tonight.
We're excited to be here. We'll say that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for having us. This is going to be fun.
Absolutely. This evening's film, the one that you selected, a very infamous movie. For a while there was said to be the worst movie ever made. So what an interesting way to go when tasked with picking a film. We always kind of start off by asking our guests, when asked to pick a horror film or a genre film, why they made the selection that they did. So I would love to hear why, when asked, you went with Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Of course, I picked the worst movie ever made. Honestly, though, it's not the worst. I've seen worse than Plan 9, but it's the ultimate cheese movie. It's a combination of horror and sci-fi and low budget, and it's the type of movie that people really enjoy when we host it. We've hosted it a couple times on the Scary Hangout, and people will quote it word for word in the chats. It's a terrible movie, but it's so it has like such a charm to it that people they still love it anyway. And I thought that would be fun since we host a lot of bad movies.
There's good bad movies and bad movies, and this is definitely a good bad movie.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say, if anybody has probably seen something actually worse, like if anybody could actually judge the worst movie ever made, I feel like you guys would be great contenders just based on your exposure to B movies and low budget films and like lost movies and things of that nature. You're deep in the trenches, kind of finding those gems.
Well, that's because they're the only ones we can legally show. I mean, if it was up to us, we'd be showing Midsommar, but we can't. So that's what you get.
Yeah, there's reasons why some of these we show the bad movies. A lot of them are in the public domain, and I think Manos is probably worse than this.
Manos, The Hands of Fate.
Hands of Fate. So that is kind of the legacy of this film. That it's and those they come up once in a while. The worst movie ever made. I think the only other one to kind of rival it in scale is like Tommy Wiseau's The Room. You know, that's one that took off on the internet.
And the common thread there is that they were both made. These movies were both made by guys who really thought they were doing something. You know, their heart was in it. Ed Wood didn't set out to make a bad movie. He did all he could to make his movies.
Yeah.
Tommy Wiseau, the same thing. He was serious as a heart attack making that movie, and that's what makes it so great. You know.
Yeah, they had this great passion to make a movie. They had this dream. And they just didn't have the budget. It just wasn't quite there. And it ended up being a masterpiece anyway, in my opinion.
And here's something. Here's another film that it definitely fits in this category. Have you ever heard of a film called Birdemic?
Yes, I've seen the.
Birdemic, yes. Yeah, and if you so we recently bought and watched Birdemic 2. Yes, there's a sequel. It's basically the first movie rehashed all the same characters, a lot of the same gags and all that, but at first, I thought they were trying to make fun of that. You know, people are making fun of the first movie. Let's parody it in the second movie. No, the director who did that. There's a whole little extra reel on the DVD about him making this. Again, like Wiseau, like Ed Wood, so serious, yelling at people, his vision, this, that, and everything. It's amazing. The ego is just an amazing thing when it comes to these movies like this.
A camera and a dream, you know?
Right. I think that's it. You know, you talk about good, bad movies and bad movies. Like a true worst movie ever is like boring. You know, there's just there's nothing to appreciate. There's no enjoyment out of watching it. Mm-hmm. But when you have somebody at the heart of it who really cares, they have the vision. Now, maybe the vision's not realized and the intention, you know, how people perceive it, enjoy it is completely different than what they intended people to. But having that kind of mad scientist at the heart of it, somebody who really does care so much and like wants to tell their story and share their vision with the world. That's the key, I think, to, you know, yes, is it the worst? Is it a good movie? No, not traditionally so, but the rewatch value on it is higher than a lot of traditionally good movies, and they create their own sort of legacies in a different context. It's true. Yeah. Birdemic and Rubber, the one with the killer tire. I've actually never seen the one with the killer tire.
I've heard good things about that movie, though.
It's really not bad. Yeah. It's pretty good. It's enjoyable.
It's enjoyable. Birdemic's another good example. Or like Neil Breen. I don't know if anybody else is familiar with Neil Breen. He's become like another one of these Wiseau figures who's unintentionally like exploded on the internet for reasons that they don't quite understand, but it's because everybody, you know, is kind of more laughing at the movie than enjoying it in a serious context. At the same time, it's also kind of, you know, I've been kind of doing my Ed Wood homework this week, and it really is sort of sad that he passed having no idea that he would eventually get the legacy that he sought out, you know, that people would find his films and they would be celebrated. And I mean, look, we're talking about it here right now, you know, and he had no idea that he actually had made his mark on cinema and history. And that's definitely the saddest part of it for me.
Yeah, but would it have been in the way he wanted it? Because there's a movie out based on the Wiseau movie, The Room, called what's his name's in it? The Disaster Artist. And I guess, you know, Tommy Wiseau, he didn't intend for people to make fun of his movie. We even went to a screening of The Room at a theater where they had this whole Rocky Picture Show thing.
Yeah, they treated it like Rocky Horror, where there's some scenes where you see like the spoon, the picture of the spoon.
It looks like a spoon. Yeah, I guess it is.
And people were throwing plastic spoons and reenacting the lines.
And Wiseau now is like, well, you know, I'll milk it now for all. I mean, he was trying to make some stuff that's bad on purpose. And doesn't have the same thing, the same charm as the original Room, if you want to call it charm, whatever that is that the Room has. But boy, I can watch that movie over and over and get the same horrible, uncomfortable chills watching the horrible acting and the lines. It's amazingly bad movie.
Yeah. So I don't know if he would.
Where's my football?
I don't know if Ed Wood would be happy that people are making fun of his movies.
What Americans do. They just pass footballs to each other and they're talking. Yeah.
But maybe he would be happy that people at least were watching him.
You have to be, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's something.
Take what you can get, because it's really hard out there to make your mark, as we all know, out in there. But you have to do what you love, and that's what these guys did. And that's what you get what you have now with these movies.
Yeah. They tried to pursue and follow their dreams and to finish a project, even if it is a bad movie, I mean,
at least you finished the project.
Yeah, the video projects can be tough.
Well, anything.
Art projects, anything. Yeah.
It's a good point too. I mean, this was made in the 50s, so like indie filmmaking is not quite what it is now. I mean, now you truly can with few resources can create a film or some sort of video project. We're talking about 50s where it's like this guy would have to throw parties and like basically kind of dupe investors, and they getting behind his. I mean, Plan 9. I didn't know this until this week. Was like was produced and funded by like a Baptist like convention.
Yeah,
2 Baptist ministers were funding it, and the original name of the film was supposed to be Grave Robbers from Outer Space, but they didn't like that title. That was like kind of blasphemous and it might sound a little too evil, so they had to tone some of it down for these ministers to fund it.
Yeah. I believe, and I obviously I should say I also watched the Burton film this past week too. He did the sort of biopic, right, about Ed Wood's life and his career, obviously embellished and dramatized as these things always are, but still really provided a fascinating look at the behind the scenes process and his relationship with Bela Lugosi. And what it took to get this film made, which in the moment seems like he thought this was his thesis, this was his masterpiece, the one that was finally going to solidify his legacy and start his directing career, which again, kind of did, just not maybe in the way that he intended. This was in the film, the Burton film, and Connor, maybe I believe so. He had to get like his cast and crew baptized. Like he put on a whole kind of.
So he basically like conned the producers, this like Baptist church, saying like if you produce this film, it's going to make you a ton of movie, and then you'll be able to make your apostle movies, because they wanted to make like 12 of them. He's like, you'll make enough money to fund all of them if you just do this one. It's a guaranteed blockbuster. And they were like, okay, we have some conditions. You have to change the name. It's blasphemous. And the whole crew has to get baptized. So yeah, everybody got baptized.
Were they baptized touring a water tower? How did they baptize a swimming pool? I don't know.
Must have been, yeah. Which is so funny. You think of how you get things made now. It's like you start a GoFundMe or a Kickstarter, make a short film here and people see your stuff, but it's like he's pulling this like ragtag motley crew of people together. I mean, you can obviously get into the kind of the cast and where they come from, but it's such a weird mix of not just people in the film, but the kinds of characters they're playing and the sort of the genres that it's occupying. And then he's got to put on this whole sort of scheme of making a show, people getting baptized just to get the money for his film. And it's funny that the only note they really had was like change the name, other than that, they're like, do your thing, brother. And I mean, I saw in the chat here, Bela Lugosi. So he sort of technically didn't die on the set while filming. But yeah, Bela Lugosi's in this, and he's sort of in it. Footage of Bela Lugosi appears in it.
I believe in 1956, and then the movie wasn't released until either 57 or 59. So yeah, they just used he used stock footage of
they were shooting another movie
because they had other film projects in mind, and they shot kind of like random footage of Bela, and they just kind of cut it in to Plan 9. And then after he passed away, was it Ed Wood's chiropractor? His chiropractor was like the fill-in with the key.
Yeah, I mean, just the inventiveness to kind of cover up the low budget. I mean, and it obviously still shows, but so funny. He just has that footage lying around, and it's kind of the 50s rendition of clickbait, because that's also I think what he takes to investors and producers. Like it's got Bela Lugosi in it. It's like a real movie, and at this point, this is still what, like 20-ish years probably after Dracula. Sort of the golden age of like the Universal monsters has winded down, and so Bela Lugosi maybe not the A-list talent name that he was at the time. Washed up feels like a cruel thing to say, but definitely towards the end of his career, and not doesn't have the same sort of star power relevancy that he once did. But I believe that they became pretty close friends towards the end of his life. Because he's in a couple Ed Wood films prior to this too.
Ride of the Monster.
Ride of the Monster. Night of the Ghouls, maybe. I'll have to double check that.
I think so. Yeah.
I think he's up in Glen or Glenda too, right?
And Glen or Glenda.
Oh, yeah, Glen or Glenda. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So to Plan 9 as far as his movies go.
He would just, because he had that morphine addiction, he would take any movie role at that time. Unfortunately. We love seeing him in the movies, even though the movies are bad. But yeah, he had some personal issues.
Demons, as he said.
Yeah. So that's kind of how he gets people interested in the film, not just from an investor standpoint, behind the scenes standpoint, but also from an audience standpoint, because you get to put Bela Lugosi in big letters on the marquee or in the poster, and then you just have this very puzzling sort of unrelated footage of him wandering around a graveyard and going out of Tor Johnson's house. And yeah, like you said, he's got a complete random chiropractor who's not even an actor, just walking around with it. It's so absurd. Like, who would think to do that? But then it is very charming. By any means, the movie's getting made. And then that's, I think, what the story is kind of written around, is him just at the typewriter figuring out, like, how can I incorporate this footage in the film? Like, what do I have to do? And he brings in what's his name? The voiceover, Criswell.
Criswell, yeah.
The amazing Criswell, who's like a 1950s like Miss Cleo, if I'm understanding correctly.
If Miss Cleo and Liberace had a baby, it would be.
Yeah, he had like his own television show doing these Criswell predicts, and then he even had a book that he published later.
We found a copy of that. Didn't we sell it?
Yeah, we sold it. But it was fun to read through all these wacky predictions. And
the delivery is second to none, and that was a pretty good delivery that you did. The little Criswell thing there, Taylor. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a cool intro.
Thank you. You could clearly see me reading it, but that's, I think, true to form, because you could very easily see him reading his own monologue at the start of the film too, as it gets.
Eyes are moving back and forth. Yeah, love it.
And I mean, that thing, to read it out loud really drove home to me, like, what am I even talking about? It's such a...
He didn't know what he was talking about. Come on.
No. And if I understand correctly, I don't think Ed even wrote that. Like, he had something else prepared for Criswell to read, and he said, this is boring. I'm throwing this out and do what I want to do. And that's what he came up with, which is just this weird, like, circular lot. Like, we want to talk about the future because we'll live in the future, and we're going to unearth the crimes. And
it was pure genius.
I refer to that as like MC Escher talk. It's like these things that don't, the artist MC Escher who does the hand, drawing the hand, none of it really.
And all the weird stairs that go to nowhere.
Or a Boris type of language. It's just like, and it's spread out in the rest of that movie. And you watch this movie, the Martians are very dramatic like that. Mad? I'm mad. Like, no one thinks this. I don't even know where this Shakespearean sort of thing comes from, and everybody's very regal.
My favorite line is stupid.
Oh, everyone loves that. You Earth people are stupid. Stupid. Oh boy.
I couldn't help it. I had to pull it because I do love it so much.
You see, your stupid minds. Stupid.
Stupid.
Like,
I am not.
Who talks like that?
Playground. It goes from a thespian to like a playground.
To like a 5-year-old.
On a playground.
Yeah.
It's great.
But it's amazing.
Throwing a tantrum in Walmart.
And the pilots on the plane when they would shoot the plane.
Oh my God! Yeah.
The shower curtain behind them.
It's amazing. No shame. No. Well, Johnny Depp's character in the Ed Wood movie. There's the one line. I don't know if Ed Wood ever said it, but some actress flubs her line. They're shooting a scene, and she stops. She goes, "Is that okay?" He goes, "That's perfect." Like that. He was good. Just whatever.
The one take wonder. Just shoot it.
That's perfect. Whole movie, it shows through the whole movie. Mm-hmm. Good enough.
Tor Johnson was brought up again in chat, and I think that's maybe the greatest sort of encapsulation of what we're talking about here, where for most of the film, he's sort of this proto-zombie ghoul type figure, but the first 10 minutes of the movie, he's like a police captain and actually has been given lines, and there's no way that there was multiple takes. If there were multiple takes, I can't imagine why they picked the ones that they did. But I think it's got to be what happened. Is just they probably didn't have very much film. It's not like
probably not. No.
Where you can.
There's a lot of stories of filmmakers up until they started using video, digital video, where even Tarantino up until that, these guys would go out and they would even sometimes use ends of film and stuff that was scrapped or wasn't taped on yet. They would try to get even that
film
kind of
scraps.
Stuff.
Yeah, whatever they could get for their budget
to shoot
to finish the project.
Yeah, because film is so expensive, and you think about the way, just the technical aspect of how they used to do motion pictures. I can't believe they actually got anything done. I mean, it seems like so much work compared to what people have to do now.
So tedious compared to the digital age.
And the dedication to have to do all that. I mean, so anyone that finished any film project up until digital, hats off to you, or wig off, or whatever you want to say. But so I don't know. But that.
Yeah, I can't fathom making even with a budget making a film in the 1950s.
Yeah,
and I mean he probably quite literally didn't have the luxury of doing another take. It's just
very expensive.
One and done. You got to pull it off. Tor Johnson, right? And I mean he's borderline unintelligible. He's doing lines about I'll get the flashlight out of the car.
I'm a big boy, Tommy.
I'm a big boy, Johnny. Yeah.
One time he says, "I'm going out to knock around," and it doesn't sound like he said. I don't know what I'm going out to knock around.
I never understood that.
You have to really rewind it. I don't know what. Yeah, but it's just lumbering around there, and he gets killed very quickly in the movie. A lot of spoilers tonight for Plan 9, but
yeah,
too bad.
Spoiler alert.
But they bury this guy so fast. I mean. It's the same day. I mean, I think they put him in the ground, and he's back to life in 10 minutes after he dies. It's really
it just goes through quick. But
and the cops didn't even know that was his grave. He just got buried there. None of them went to his funeral. They didn't know it was him until
I guess they forgot. I don't know. And then the mausoleum scene where they're
in the beginning,
in the beginning where you see 20 people in this tiny cardboard mausoleum.
The clown mausoleum.
Yeah.
And you can see the cardboard wiggling a little bit.
I love it.
Half of this movie basically takes place in that graveyard. They get a lot of action out of that graveyard, and it is brilliant because you have not just the cardboard mausoleum that looks like it'll fall down if anybody stands up all the way, but you have sort of your styrofoam tombstones that people are walking into and knocking over, and again, you just keep rolling. We got one take on this, so we got to nail it.
And thank God the pilot in the beginning lived right next to the graveyard. Very convenient. He and his wife. Oh, it's the best. It's just the movie that keeps on giving. It's just right. I mean, there's no boring spots in the movie, if you ask me. Again, it flows so nicely, and just I don't know. It's just got every frame is filled with some kind of cheese or another. It's just great.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's bad, but in a good way. It's a good laugh. It's just pure entertainment. Just.
Oh, and the head detective waving the gun around when he talks. That's a good.
Oh yeah, I can't think.
You go over there. You go. Pointing this.
Like he's gonna shoot somebody.
Oh my God.
he's adjusting his hat with the gun.
Yeah. I don't know if that was. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a prop or I don't know what's more believable for this movie, that they would have a prop or that they would just say, I don't know, somebody has a gun, they're just going to bring it to set that day and we're going to wave it around. But I mean, that's anybody who's been on a set usually have like a props coordinator, like a weapons handler. Right. So like the idea of a guy just having a real handgun and just waving in another actor's face.
Guaranteed it was a real gun. Could have had I would not be surprised.
And that would be terrifying as an actress in my opinion. Like, geez, like this guy's just pointing it everywhere.
From what I've read and seen, like about the behind the scenes, I do not doubt that it was a real gun.
Yeah.
That would happen.
Bring your gun in tomorrow, Bill. It's probably just that. Just bring your gun in. Who has a gun here? Bring it in. A pistol? Okay, perfect.
Sure, whatever.
That's perfect.
A lot happens in that graveyard, and one of the other, there's Bella and there's Tor, who I guess we haven't talked about too much either, who's an old professional wrestler.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a professional wrestler. He came from Sweden. And he acted in some other movies too, and had some TV spots, but it was mostly bad movies and Ed Wood movies.
Yeah, he was, I guess, sort of plucked from obscurity. I don't know. The Ed Wood film just kind of frames it as Ed going to a wrestling match and just I'm gonna put you in a movie. You're gonna be a star. It's a real production. We've got Bela Lugosi in it. That seemed to be his pitch to everybody. We've got Bela Lugosi.
Yeah. When they had George the Animal Steel played him, it was perfect.
Yes. Yeah, which is like the most inspired casting ever, getting another wrestler to play him. And I had read that like when George the Animal Steel figured out who he was playing, it was like a sort of a backhanded compliment because he looks just like him, and he's like this horrifying guy who was turned into like a Halloween mask.
That's great.
yeah, that's Tor's legacy.
Well, hey. Who's he going to play? Some guy, or not some guy. Clark Gable in the remake of Gone with. What do you want, George? Come on, you look like the guy.
It's a character, It's like
you have a purple tongue. Come on,
embrace it.
Whatever was that? A green tongue.
Yeah, and he has the body hair to rival you there, sir.
Probably, I know. We'd be like Velcro if we got together.
And then we also have coming out of the graveyard was Vampira.
Yes, Vampira. Mila Nurmi. I'm a huge fan of her. Now,
there's a lot about her that's really cool.
There's so much about her that's cool. So she was in the Guinness Book of World Records for having the world's smallest waist. She had a 13-inch waist, and when you see her in this movie, she looks like she could snap in half.
If she bent over.
Yeah. She was like way into
the baptize her. She could just snap in half. Maybe bend her there.
Maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
But she was from Denmark. She was a model and aspiring actress, and became one of the first horror film hostesses. She was on TV in California, but only for 1 year.
Yeah.
And she made it in Time magazine back in the day. And at the time when Ed Wood approached her, she didn't like the script. She thought the movie was beneath her.
Go figure.
And she didn't want a speaking role. So she just wanted to appear as like this ghoul lady, this like vampire lady.
It's her same character, pretty much.
Yeah, she was just walking around looking creepy, with the long nails and everything.
Yeah.
But later on, she does regret not having a speaking role. She passed away in 2008, but there's a lot of great interview footage of her online. Really cool lady.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with her, outside of this film. I obviously. Yourselves being horror hosts, I can only imagine, how sort of influential and the admiration you might have for some, especially who's considered kind of the first,
Yes, pretty much. Yeah, her and Zachary out of New Jersey, East Coast, West Coast. Yeah, Zachary was New Jersey.
Yeah, they started around the same time,
California,
around 1955, 1956. So they were the first American horror film hosts.
Pretty much.
Yeah, Vampira and Zachary.
And I know wasn't there an Elvira lawsuit that came eventually?
Yes. Actually, yeah, Elvira, they were trying to reinvent Vampira using Cassandra Peterson and Vampira's, lawyers. She was still alive at the time. They didn't want any part of it. So they just changed the name from Vampira to Elvira. It's almost sound the same, right?
Yeah.
And it was pretty much supposed to be the same character.
Similar, the little black dress, the cleavage, and the dark hair. And they decided to change the name. But
so, there was a lawsuit. There were some issues with that. But I think Elvira kind of cut her own, did her own thing with the character. And that she's I don't think you could touch Elvira with anything. I mean, I think that's what should have came out of that, not a rehash of Vampira.
It turned out great because the Elvira character had more comedy to it.
Way different character.
Way different style. And both of them I love. They just had different styles. Vampira was more serious and more goth and a little more scary. Mm-hmm. Elvira was like the perky goth.
There's some old footage of Vampire show. There's only like one episode, I think, that kind of survived.
Yeah, I wish they had more footage saved from Vampira.
But one of my favorite lines from that is she's holding this drink and it's got like cold, dry ice in it, so it's smoking. She goes, "Do you like this drink? It hates you." The drink hates me. I mean, just very interesting. It's very strange, you know. But she was something. She had totally different. But so she is in this movie. Again, no speaking role. Just comes at you like this and you die somehow. She never lays a hand on anybody, but they die.
It does. The film does kind of excuse itself by cutting away from any sort of real violence. It just kind of lets it happen off screen. It's such a great unintentional funny moment early in the film. You know, after they set up Bella's character and they sort of just time in with the Criswell, you know, voiceover and really, really craps on the dude too. It's just like, this miserable old man has nobody who cares about him. Everywhere he goes. He's reminded of how
he's growing out the roses of his cheeks. It's like cornball stuff.
Poor guy.
And then he walks off camera. He gets hit by a car, I guess. Well, he's dead.
That was his 2 seconds alive in the movie.
Yeah, that's it. It's so fun. The setup of like, this is the most pathetic man in the world, and then he just wanders off frame and gets hit by a car.
That's how pathetic he is. Surprised it didn't happen a long time ago to him.
But then he's going around like, oh yeah, Bela's in this movie, you know, like talking it up, but then he's only alive in the movie for like 2 seconds.
Technically he is.
Yeah. He's got kind of a P.T. Barnum aspect to him of like, come see the amazing movie with Bella, and then he's dead, and then try to it's just brilliant.
Like you said, the early clickbait, like a prototype, you know, one of the first kind of clickbaity guys, bait and switch.
Yeah, like they killed him right in the beginning.
There's no switch. He's in the movie, technically. I mean,
yeah, he's in there. And then with Vampira killing the police captain played by Tori Johnson, she just kind of people just scream and she just kind of comes towards the camera and we'll go to the next scene.
That's it.
Just cut it out. You get it. You know, it's implied. You get it. Something I do really like, it just because it is so strange and peculiar, is like the weird meeting of like horror things and sci-fi things and different tone. Obviously, it's very dramatic still, but it's like you've got, you know, aliens coming to Earth who are then creating like zombies, but they're not quite zombies yet. You know, I think the idea of the zombie wasn't quite really solidified and filmed quite yet.
That's true. You're right. It was still the voodoo zombie.
Yeah, back then it was more like the voodoo zombie, like they're in a trance. It was more of like a magical thing. Romero perfected the "I'm going to eat your brains and guts" zombies, the fleshy zombies.
Zombies were still, like you were saying, were still just controllable dead people, and not flesh eaters or anything like that.
Yeah, it was more like you're in a trance, you're zombified.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. You had White Zombie, obviously, which has Bela Lugosi in it. And then, Night of the Living Dead doesn't come out for like almost another 10 years after this. So sort of ahead of its time in some respects, at least in the ideas or like the aspirations of what it's trying to be. And then the zombies themselves are kind of, it's weird. There's, Bela is basically Dracula, right? I mean, or Bella's character, I should say.
Well, wait a minute. That doesn't make any sense. I guess they rose him from the dead too, right? Why is he even back? I never really stopped to really think about that.
He just wanted Bela in there.
He lost his wife. He gets killed the next day.
And then he's brought back somehow.
But they never really reference him. The aliens don't say, hey, we got this guy down here with the cape and we got a giant guy.
There's not a real story to this movie. They tried to make a story.
The aliens only acknowledge Tor, pretty much when he's told, he's walking around the graveyard and they control him. Oh, he comes on the ship too. They control him with the gun. That's how they control the zombies.
With their ray gun or something.
There's a ray gun. Of course, it does everything. It's like a Swiss Army knife. It shoots, it stuns, it controls Walking Dead. It's great. I mean,
why not?
It's like
because I have not. I've seen the Ed Wood film from Tim Burton, but have not seen Plan 9 before coming onto the show. So this was my first time seeing it, and I was like, "What is this movie about? Aliens, zombies, vampires? Like, what is this?"
Yes,
Everything.
all of the above.
Gosh, that got me thinking a little bit. I never really thought more than that. Wow, I'm tripping.
But then it's like a cautionary tale for the atomic age. It's
Right.
It's got everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's all in Criswell's coded message in the beginning. My friends.
Yeah, Criswell planned it all along.
I want his hair though. He had that really cool.
That little swirl.
Yeah. Like a wave. It's like I want to get a surfboard and go through it. It's got this like totally tubular thing, man. But yeah, oh boy, now I've got me thinking. I look like the thinking monkey here.
Well, and what I love too is like he used all this crazy stock footage to like
Yeah.
with all of his movies, he would just add in just whatever footage he could get. And then the saucers were from a model kit from a toy store.
Like, yeah.
Very flammable, apparently.
Right.
Oh yeah, from the ending.
Of the metal ship totally on fire. I mean, that doesn't happen during re-entry or anything. It's this again. Don't try to figure that one out.
You can't figure this out.
Yeah, if you try to figure it out, you'll be stuck forever. You'll never get out of the hole. I do love to think of them like finding those UFOs in the store. So like he must have thought he just hit the jackpot, right? Like, because what else were they gonna do? There's that scene where they're having those little backyard meetings, which, like you said, very conveniently also just neighbors the graveyard where all of this is happening. And he's talking about the UFOs. I saw one and it looked like a cigar, and I think they shot stuff and like didn't know what the UFOs were going to look like yet.
No, I'll tell you what, the interesting thing about that, if you read about UFOs and stuff, I remember as a kid hearing people would describe saucers or flying UFOs, let me say it that, as cigar shaped. That goes way, way back to the 1800s, actually. I think it's because, like, if you hold something that's like, whether it's round or square or rectangular, if you do this with it, now it becomes. So if the thing that they saw back in the day was like at this angle, they would think it's cylindrical or cigar shaped, as opposed to seeing it like this or a round saucer turned this way. You know what I mean? So and if it was like fatter in the middle and tapered, like a disc, and a disc would be. So I think that's where the cigar shape comes from. Like I said, I remember reading about UFOs as a kid, and eyewitnesses back in the day, like way, way back, would always say cigar shape. So that was a standard, but they're not. I mean, it's a saucer. You're
just seeing it. Well, if they were to be real, you would just see it from the one angle.
Yeah. So if it wasn't those models, they would have probably used pie pans
or paper plates or something.
As a matter of fact, The Mummy and the Monkey here, we did a little a film of our own. A film. What we did was we took footage from different conventions that we would go to, horror conventions and things like that we would do over these past years, like in the before times when you could do these things. And instead of just putting out a DVD of all of the footage of us going to different conventions and behind the scenes and interviewing people, we did a Plan 9 from Outer Space type spoof.
Yeah.
It's called The Mummy and the Monkey Conquer the Cons.
Yeah, we had our own little like Ed Wood thing wrapped around it, shot in black and white.
Yeah, and I made all the spaceships out of metal pans and and lids and stuff like that, pot lids and on the string and. We did everything, very a la Plan 9, and the alien that in our little thing, our movie, a little production, was coming down to Earth to capture two horror hosts and drain them of their horror of their convention memories, so he can create a race of.
So he could build an army of his own atomic horror hosts to rule the galaxy, or rule the world,
and all that was based and influenced by the Ed Wood movies, Plan 9,
the ridiculousness of it,
and Bride of the Monster, But we'll have to send you a copy of that.
Yeah, is that available online anywhere, or is it?
No,
we did have some on our eBay store. I don't recall if I have any on there currently.
Well, we did show it it's probably in our archives, but it's probably all chopped up because you're having issues with your Spectrum. We had issues with our internet. For 2 years, we were broadcasting like dropping out we got that fixed now. I don't even know what we're thinking about, what we were on.
Well, we didn't realize it was our internet
We
acting
thought
up that
everybody
badly.
it was just that. No, now it streams like a regular TV show. It's great now.
Yeah, we had to do an upgrade with everything.
But we feel your pain, man.
But yeah, we get it. We've had internet issues before.
I recently had a lot of internet issues. So I'm working from home, so I'm like using all my bandwidth on work, and then it just ruins everything. But yeah, I need to see that film because it sounds like a film that that could fund my 12 Apostle films.
Cool.
Oh, I see.
Perfect.
See what I did there?
Yes.
What are you talking about?
It took a minute.
It wasn't even that deep of a cut. We just talked about that.
Do we have to get vampires?
We'll get shoot us your addresses. We'll send you a copy.
Yeah, we'll get some copies made.
Hell yeah, I would love to see that. I also appreciate you bringing up when the UFO on the fishing wire, right? Because like you think of B movies and sort of these cheap sci-fi kind of space age films, and when you see the parody of it, it always is like the flying saucer on the string, and you can see the string, and it's like this is actually that movie. If that makes any sense, it's like to actually see it in full earnestness, right? Where it's not like. It's not showing the string on purpose. It's not trying to make a joke. It's trying to actually convince you you're there, and it's still just not quite pulling it off. It's just, for me, it's like kind of endearing to finally like actually watch a movie that is doing that. It's such like a classic cheap movie trope, right? The right. UFO on a string. It's just, here it is. You've done it.
Plan 9 may be that, like you said, it's probably that film that everybody uses to base all their this is what a bad movie looks like
in reference
redo it.
Yeah. Sure. So Ed Wood started the bad movie or low budget movie trend. Who knows?
He did, but definitely he's probably the king of it for sure. Without wanting to be the king, he is
unintentionally.
Yeah.
That too. We should talk a little bit about the aliens and the titular Plan 9 of this, because that's the bizarre part of like trying to figure out the alien angle in this. Because Connor, you touched on it. It's kind of this cautionary tale, right? Coming out of World War II and, the bombing of Japan. And, it's not the first one to get there. Obviously the Day the Earth Stood Still comes out like 5 or 6 years prior to this and kind of has the same idea of alien visitors, warning us of our impending doom, that we're brought on by ourselves and our unrestrained, destruction and knack for warfare.
Are you talking about the Solomonite?
Yes. Yeah. What is the Solarmanite? What is it?
There's different.
Solmanite?
There's some different pronunciations.
Dolomite.
Maybe they meant the Dolomite.
Maybe Dolomite was
another one of my favorite movies of all time. Bad good movie. Totally. I know that movie by heart, by the way, Dolomite. That's another show we could do.
Well, and you guys have seen Futurama, right?
Yeah.
So Zap Brannigan, doesn't he look like Eros from Plan 9?
Oh, the outfit.
And he's got the little tiny, like the mini skirt thing with the boots.
Yeah, he just ditched the tights, right? He's going Winnie the Pooh on it.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, Donald Duck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
Was the alien what?
The little alien sidekick. Well, like Zap would be climbing up a ladder and
look up his tunic.
He'd be like, oh, like
shielding his eyes.
Yeah, like he's got a glimpse of something there.
Boy.
Yeah.
Well, back to the Solomonite.
Yeah.
Can you explain that? Like, and that I love that explanation about. Now you take like a can of gasoline that represents the sun. And then if you take that can of gasoline and put a trailer, it's like it's the most weird. He's saying you'll explode everything, right? I mean, basically, he says the universe, but the sun only is in a solar system, right? Where the sun rays.
Yeah.
How far out could they go? And does he understand the concepts of galaxies? How they're sort of encapsulated? I don't know. It's really weird.
He says that the rays of the sun, like the Sotomanite or whatever, will explode all the like the particles and the rays from the sun and end up destroying the universe or the galaxy. And it's like, well, doesn't the rays of the sun only hit like maybe 3 planets.
Right. That's what I didn't understand. And it goes from destroying, the whole universe is going to be destroyed, okay? Which it doesn't make any sense. Like, why are we trying to make sense out of this? That's everything. But that's what I love about this movie.
Hurts.
That's what you gotta love about this movie. It's got all this stuff going on. So there's a really nice explanation at the end of the movie about the Solomonite, or however you say it. And but what I wonder is that just a theory they have? Because if it happened already, then everything would be gone. I mean, was it an experiment that they tried long ago in their alien past that went awry and they're warning people? Or is it a theory? Has it happened before? Because if it did, the whole universe would be gone.
Edward didn't think about it that.
It don't make no sense.
He didn't go that in depth.
There's a list of things he didn't think about. But.
Yeah. I don't think Ed had sort of an editor there, but he didn't have any proofreaders or script directors there to figure it out for him. But my read on it was like, yeah, they had seen other advanced civilizations kind of work towards that. Like they had seen it. I guess they all work towards their own mutual destruction, and they see it time and time again. So they're like telegraphing that, or maybe they just have Criswell's book. I don't know. They got his read on it, and then they found out it was going to happen. But then I would also, even beyond the whole Solomonite of it all, I love just trying to dissect their plan to stop that from happening, which is, well, first of all, it's plan number 9, which I saw in the chat. Yeah, what were plans 1 through 8?
Right. Everybody wonders that. You don't want to know.
Which, kudos to their patience that they just go down the list, plan to plan. Okay, that one didn't work. What's next? They're willing to give us at least 9 chances to not destroy ourselves. And of course, when they start coming down, the saucers come down in the most American way ever. We just start brilliantly shooting at them and trying to blow them up, which is great. But this plan is so mysterious because it's like, okay, we're going to stop them from developing the Solomonite by landing on Earth and reanimating the dead, and I guess building an army. Army of zombies to take over the world,
to take over and scare the people of Earth.
But their timeline's very slow. It takes the whole movie, and they only get 3 people in.
They're
not very good at what they were trying to do.
Yeah, they need one of those time management people to come in and break everything down for them and show them what they're doing, not doing right.
They'll never get promoted that way.
No, it's very local. They just kind of inconvenience like this one, not even a town, just one household.
Yeah.
One neighborhood.
Well, the alien leader could just seem less interesting. Oh, plan 9. Oh. He's just very whatever, just get it done. I'm too busy for you. He's hilarious too. Oh my gosh, I mean.
Is that the one who had like the space outfit looked like it was some medieval knight costume that they just got from some other movie set?
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah, just use that. That's close enough.
Good enough.
That whole part is very interesting because when they come back and they're like, the leader asks them how successful it's been. They're like, well, we've got 2 people. Like, keep at it. Like, you're infiltrating a whole planet, and this is your big plan. This is the plan to complete your mission, and you've got 2 people out of billions. He's like, good work. Keep going.
And they didn't even know. We didn't even know what Solomonite is at the end. They're like, "What are you talking about? It doesn't exist. There's no such thing."
Yeah.
We can't even measure a particle of sunlight. Can't measure an atom yet. That's like, oh boy, Yeah. So we didn't even. That was their fault for telling us about the dang Solomonite.
Yeah.
I guess
now we know.
Oh my gosh, that's something I didn't even think of.
I didn't even think about that until now either.
We didn't know what it was until the aliens told us. Yeah.
He gave it all up. Now we know they're gone. They blew up in their burning spaceship, and now we know about Solomonite. So where's the Solomonite?
And now we can go get it. Wherever that is.
Explode the atoms or the particles of sunlight, like gasoline.
Yeah, it is great too, because like he kind of explains it in a more scientific way of what it is and how it functions. And the guy's like, I don't get it. Explain it again. And then that's when he does the whole thing like, well, what if it's a ball? And, you put gasoline all over the ball and you got the sun over here. And like after and like then I think he still says he doesn't get it after he does that whole explanation too.
He's basically giving us the formula for Solomon-ite.
Yeah.
Everything is dumb aliens, and I don't know.
Needs to wheel out the
talk about it, the less sense it makes. Go ahead. What?
Yeah, it's like write it down and give me a copy of it so I can make sure what to not do, with the solar at night. But then, to their point, I mean, they tell them all about it, and their takeaway isn't, oh yeah, we could do that and be an even stronger nation, even more powerful. Yeah, right. Which I think that's what finally prompts.
You see, your stupid minds, stupid.
That's one of the best line reads ever. I love it.
Oh, that's the best line ever.
I wonder if he rehearsed it that way. Like, that's what I really love. When I see movies like this,
imagine him like at home practicing in front of a mirror.
Dear.
He's getting ready for his big part in this movie.
It's stupid. Did I say it like this? You're stupid. Just stupid. Or
isn't that character in the Ed Wood movie from Tim Burton? Isn't that played by Bill Murray?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Bill Murray's character.
Yeah.
Is it his, or is his the one? Is the Bill Murray? So Bonnie Breckenridge is the name of the actual actor, I think. Is that his character? Or is he the one with like the medieval knight costume? He's one of the,
yeah, a little bit like that.
They showed like Bill Murray painted green, or like another character, or another color, and that's when he gets hit and he turns another color.
They did that polarized version of Plan 9 where he would turn. Were they green on the set or something?
The black and white version, I don't think they had that. That was only the colored version.
Oh,
colorized. Yeah.
Yeah, he gets backhanded, and then he turned like he lost his color for a second. So I don't know. Maybe they're implying in the color version. Yeah, they're taking human form on that day, but they look different when they go back to space.
Yeah, maybe they were really green.
You haven't seen me on a Friday night or at 1 a.m. I'm pretty green. Coming over the porcelain facilities. Anyway, again, so much to think about. I mean, for a movie that's about nothing, it's definitely
there's a lot to wonder there.
To rehash.
Yeah.
So
to be a fly on the wall when they would film this. I mean,
they would have left the fly there too.
Yeah, they would have.
It really is kind of remarkable that there's anything conceivable even at the end of this film, like that there is a movie to watch at it. It's such a weird symphony of like disasters, and everything that could go wrong did, but it's all tied to this crazy ambition. Which if you didn't, I mean, anybody else, and I have to think in the same position, would have given up so early into this, But not only does he have the vision, but he somehow is able to get other people to believe in it too, and kind of convince them. Again, he kind of picks up this weird ragtag team of actors and crew members along the way. Like we mentioned, Bonnie Breckenridge, who I think went on to become like a male burlesque dancer, if I know correctly.
Really?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. In the Burton film, Bill Murray plays that character, and there's a lot of talk of him like wanting to get a sex change, and he goes to Mexico, and they ripped him off, and he comes back. Like it's just a lot of fat. And then obviously we haven't even talked about Ed Wood himself, who had a penchant for wearing women's clothing, and was apparently very open about it in the 50s. Which is
the Angora sweaters and. Glenn or Glenda, I mean, he stars in that movie. He wrote it. I mean, it was pretty much about his life. And that was a very taboo topic at that time. Mm-hmm. So on top of him being like this eccentric, low budget filmmaker with this crazy vision, he also, was, more out about that lifestyle than how other people were in the 50s.
Because there's no eccentric movie makers in Hollywood at all.
But he
I just think it's funny,
Yeah, it was just, people didn't talk about that stuff then, and now people are more open about things, and definitely things have changed.
Are they?
Well, we still have a long way to go, but
sadly, but God bless him. He just let it all hang out. He made a movie about it.
Hang
out, so to speak. Yeah, he made a movie about it, about his, it was loosely based on this, because the guy in there, right, was cross-dressing.
Well, Ed Wood
the married
was
guy.
the character who was the trans or cross-dresser, or however you want to,
right,
whatever the proper terminology would be.
Mm-hmm.
We just saw that movie not that long ago, the Glenn or Glenda.
Mm-hmm.
And and when he how old was he when he passed away, Ed Wood? In his 50s?
He passed away in the 70s. He was like in his 50s,
I believe. So let's see here. So yeah, he was about 54, 55 when
That's
he
it.
Yeah, he was married twice, and him and his second wife, they were partiers. So
well, you know what happens when you party.
Yeah.
They overdid it too much, and yeah.
Who knows? I don't know the actual particulars on there, but yeah, wow, that's hardcore though to be that young still.
Mm-hmm. He wrote some books too. I haven't read his books yet, but I want to. He wrote a series of books about
Angora sweaters.
Well, the trans one was trans oriented, yeah.
Oh wow.
There's a lot to admire about Ed Wood and the production of his movies, though, because he was super open about all of that, and there's a lot to admire about that, especially when it was very kind of taboo and kind of looked down on. And then he also had this ragtag group of people he made movies with that otherwise probably wouldn't have a chance in anything. And he gave all these people a chance, especially Bella. Everybody called him washed up, a junkie, all this stuff, and he just kept putting him in his movies. Kind of gave him work again. So there's a lot to admire about him and what he did for these people. And there's a line in the Tim Burton film where he said, I think it was Patricia Arquette's character said, Ed is someone who doesn't, pass judgment on people. And he said, yeah, if I did, I wouldn't have any friends.
Wow.
He didn't really judge these people. He just, admired them and put them in his movies.
Yeah. To me, he was a bit of a visionary. I think, if you look at, like, he saw Bela Lugosi like people see Bela now.
Yeah.
Now, you can't. He's Dracula, period, and he was buried in his Dracula costume.
He was buried in the Dracula cape. Now, there's Ed Wood and Bela were friends, according to the movie and according to Ed Wood. But Bela's son and some other relatives accused Ed Wood of actually using Bela.
But no one else was using the guy for anything,
right? And it was a way for Bela to get work, and he was making friends. Unfortunately, he did have that addiction to the morphine.
Mm-hmm.
But
Hollywood's notorious even to this day of chewing people up and spitting them out. Anyone that can sustain a career in any kind of entertainment, they're doing something right. Because no matter how popular you are or iconic you are, there's always that chance where you'll fall out and just won't ever be that way until and I think that happened to Bela. I mean,
or you have like this big role where you play a certain character and then they only know you for that character.
Right.
So people only knew him for Dracula, or just assumed, oh, that's Dracula.
But I don't think he minded. He didn't mind that because
he loved it
to be buried in that outfit. I believe
he loved it because that was his biggest role. But I think he was probably hoping to get other roles too that were just as substantial or just as big.
I keep getting cast as a monkey whenever I do these horror
He's typecast.
I can't break out of it. So but I think it seems like Ed Wood, was definitely a genuine person. He accepted people for who they were. I mean, if Bela could come back now, he would fill an arena. Okay, you know that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
His son makes appearances at horror conventions, and tons of people come to see him. Same thing with Vincent Price's daughter.
Vincent Price's daughter, Victoria Price. She's a super nice lady. She even wrote a book about her father.
So if they were alive now, I mean, it's too bad that lull happened for some of them. I think Vincent Price was pretty consistent with his popularity, but like someone like Lugosi, it's too bad that he couldn't ride that wave, up until where without having some kind of issues that he had with. But he tried to clean himself up in the end, though. He did.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
If you read a little bit about Bela, but I don't know. But I think Ed had that sort of ability to see what someone was and appreciate them for who they were, and not, oh, you're just this.
He wasn't judgmental.
He really did.
Yeah.
He was a fan of Bela Lugosi.
Just like a fanboy, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. A fanboy, and he's in my movie, my movies.
Yeah, there's a real earnestness to his work, for better or for worse, but there's no polish or smoke screen to it. It's exactly what it is. And it seems to be kind of Ed Wood's legacy and sort of motto too. It's like being just so unapologetically yourself.
Right.
And,
his work reflects that. Yeah.
Yeah. Treating others who are, because they walk, whether you're a pro wrestler or an old aged actor or a horror host, all these different people, a drag queen, finding these people who, again, don't probably so easily get the opportunities that a lot of people, especially in show business, even in the 50s, were probably, had access to, and sort of plucking them from obscurity or from the shadows, and saying, I'm going to give you an honest chance. Is it the most glamorous chance in the world? Not exactly. And maybe he does kind of spiced up a bit and say, hey, again, you're going to be in the lights on the marquee. You're going to be a star on a movie. And did it come out that way? Maybe not. But I also believe that Ed Wood probably did believe that's what would happen. I don't think it was pulling the wool over anybody's eyes. I think you can just see from the enthusiasm in his work. It's not begrudging. It's not, he's asleep at the wheel and make one of these movies for a quick buck, because that wasn't happening either. There wasn't a lot of bucks in the equation for these films. But I think in his own way, his vision and his dream, he actually did always believe in earnest that these were going to be big films and these were going to be big breaks and opportunities. And, they were going to, spread all over the world and for people to admire. So there's definitely this sort of authenticity to his work. And, obviously
admire an innocence.
Yeah.
You have to admire that, because then you look at someone like Bruce Willis, who just sleepwalk. It's like you're just doing this for a paycheck at this point. But, Ed Wood he enjoyed making movies. He enjoyed writing movies, and, that's what he loved. And you have to admire that. Someone who loves it so much, regardless of what's said about them, and they just don't stop.
Yeah. There's just literally, there's only been one. There could only ever be one Ed Wood, right? It's just no one else could quite do it like he did. I would love to kind of talk a little bit about the ending of the film, though, before we finish up tonight. We got First School in the chat. What's going on, Ghouls and Goblins? Good to see you. Thanks for watching.
First School.
I love because it really does sort of wrap up the just nonsensical nature of the story of this movie, which obviously, you don't watch this for the rich narrative, but it's so strange. Yeah, sorry. I don't mean to speak for anybody here. It's so weird the way in which they get on the UFO, which, by the way, I love the little flying saucer. It's got like a little square glued to the bottom of it, so it matches the set, and she's admiring your set over there, Mummy and Monkey.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's got to be said, we never had somebody with such an amazing horror backdrop and scenery here for the show. They get on this UFO, they have their big confrontation, and they tell him, we're here to prevent your own demise that you are gleefully running towards. We're here to save you from making this terrible weapon and destroying the entire universe. And that culminates in like a fist fight. They fight them because of it. And the aliens kind of give up. So, you know what? You guys suck. We are going to conquer and kill all of you. So they beat him up, and he like shoots a console on the ship or something. So you have all these great sparks and little, cheap fire effects and fog machines going off.
They're actually throwing bits of the machinery around at each other too. Yes. Alien guys ripping out, looks like a radio, 2 radios, and throwing them everywhere.
They're like destroying their own ship.
That's your ship, man. Trashing your own ship. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, they get in this fight and they overpower and escape the aliens, right? And they decide, oh, our ship's on fire. Let's get out of here. But the tone that this ends on, I think, is so strange, where the aliens are there to stop your demise. You beat them up. They fly into the sky and explode. And then it feels like they're just kind of like looking out the sunset and like, that was a weird day we had. Like it's such a inconcise, like I just sometimes I get to the end of a film and I'm like, what's the rest of those characters' lives like? Like what like what's next for them? So they're just gonna make the solar night? Like it just seems like nobody learned any lessons.
No.
There's no like art.
Another
There's
day.
Yeah.
There's no like grand character growth or epiphany at the end. They go, we need to, there's something deeply wrong with the military industrial complex, and we need to check ourselves. Like they're just like, cool, we beat them up. The end. It's just such a almost way to end. Oh, and yes, I do love that the ghouls just kind of turn into skeletons.
Yes, that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that too, where they're like, hey, for Vampira's ghoul, they just kind of go, hey, wasn't there like a third one? And the guy's like, nah, I don't know. She's probably a skeleton now too.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure it looks a lot like this one here, right? Like Tor skeleton, yeah.
Just thinks he has a handle. He's like, I don't know. They don't have the gun anymore and they blew up. So she's probably a skeleton. Like I would just love, like, there's always post-credit scenes now. I'd love if like after the credits, they just cut to Vampira just like wandering down the street still, like just trying to figure out what the rest of her life's going to look like.
Aw.
Yeah, could still be out there somewhere, waiting for Plan 10 to come. And that's the other thing. It's like, there's clearly more of these UFOs. So it's like, that one blew up, but I got a feeling that, they must have like Plan 10, 11, 12, right? They could come down here still.
There was a Plan 9 remake or
It's called Plan 10.
Was it called Plan 10?
I think so. There's an indie movie.
There were a couple indie movies that were like either spin-offs or remakes or like another plan, like Plan 10. But we haven't seen them yet. So I'm going to have to dig those up after talking about this movie.
Plan 9 wide from outer space. I don't know.
I would love to see like a modern rendition. Everything comes back these days. It would be hilarious to see like a modern rendition that takes itself like completely seriously and is not played for goofs at all, but like
serious, yeah. CGI spectacular,
yeah. $100 million budget.
Michael Bay's Plan 10 from him.
Yeah, Plan 10. Like you could get, who would be your new wrestler? Because you had Thor and then John Cena. He'd be John Cena would be the ghoul.
The Rock.
And then The Rock. Rock zombie. That'd be pretty scary. Pretty
Zack Snyder's Plan 9 from outer space.
There you go.
And then instead of Vampira, they have to have you guys in it. You can, a mummy and a monkey.
Yeah, there we go.
We get to turn into skeletons?
I hope so.
Oh my gosh. Man, I don't. As we're kind of winding down here, is there anything we didn't touch on with Plan 9? I always want to make sure. Is there anything?
Overnight wrestlers.
What else?
What was that device they used to communicate? The diction.
Oh yes.
The televisor?
No, it was
the one screen they were calling it the televisor.
No. He's talking about the thing that would. It was like a universal translator to dicta something or another.
The Grim.
That's what it was.
You shouldn't be talking dirty on the show.
I'm not. It was the dictometer, the dictaphone.
Yeah, something like that. But they were, before they even brought that up, they were talking to each other.
Right.
They
were coming.
And understood each other. And then they were like, oh, wait, how do the aliens know how? It just seemed like something that was brought up like halfway through. Like they're like, oh, we got to come up with a way that the aliens and the humans can actually communicate. And they're like, they have a device. There it is.
Because it was shut down by Big Army Brass.
That is a great scene. It's because that's another thing. The aliens are so condescending all throughout the movie. Right? It's like, I think even their message is like, we put together this device so even you primitive beings can figure out what we are saying. Right. You must be so proud of yourselves.
This close to calling them, play the clip. Stupid.
Oh, you know what? I will, because I love it so much.
You see? Your stupid minds. Stupid.
Yeah. The whole time they were like, I'm smarter than you.
From the planet Tantrum. This little baby man, the baby monster.
And all our props look like old tube radios.
Oh, sure. That's technology.
Yeah, it just was a bunch of radios maybe taped together or something.
Dials and
tubes
and all kinds of, crazy stuff. I mean,
that was supposed to be state of the art.
And a lot a lot of curtains in the background, right? Like a lot of times the back, some reason he's outside, but it looks like the sky has like a weird crease in it, those little touches.
Sure, yeah. Well, and another thing about this movie is it vacillates very quickly between night and day. I mean, it's dark. Yeah. It's dark in the graveyard, but it's dusk behind the people that they cut to that are looking at the graveyard. It's very confusing.
It goes very quick with that.
You just don't know what time of day it really is at any given moment. Mm-hmm. In the same scene.
Yeah, very very casually cuts back and forth. It just they trust you as the audience so much to just be able to keep up with it.
It's almost psychotronic. That's very strange. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, it has this very strange sort of overall thing to it. Like I don't know what they were doing when they were making it, but it definitely came out on the film. That's like it's very bizarre. I don't know, but I love it. But we love it. And
it's still lovable, and the fans love it. We loved hosting.
So how long ago was that movie made? It was like
1959. So 60 years ago.
I guarantee you, in another 60 years, there'll be someone else talking about this. I don't think it'll ever go away.
Yeah, like long after we're all gone, there'll be someone else still talking in like some futuristic podcast about it.
There are many movies made every year that no one will ever talk about probably ever again, or won't get this much sort of have like a place on the shelf of Hollywood films, good and bad all across. But this one is definitely an iconic.
It's definitely legendary.
Yeah. They'll be broadcasting it across the galaxy in 300 different languages, using the decometer or whatever you said.
The decometer and the televisor.
Yeah. The televisor.
Yeah, it really was kind of a treat to sit down and just kind of live in this movie for a little bit, because it obviously it very literally is from a different era, but just to kind of see someone's vision realized, whether by intention or sheer will, or just seeing a film get made, just finishing a movie is in itself an achievement. And it is sad for me to think again that Ed Wood, unfortunately passed, having no idea that this work would live on far beyond him and would get discovered. Because I know it kind of, in its time, I don't think this was like heralded initially as the worst movie and people were already talking about it and it was making the rounds or anything like that.
It was just like a bad drive-in, just a bad movie for teenagers to make out to in the 60s.
Right. And I think it kind of went away. And it obviously entered the public domain too, so I think it played on like TV a lot, late at night is my understanding, but it wasn't until like the 80s where what was the book? It's like the Golden Turkey or something like that. Yeah.
You beat me to it. I don't remember the guy's name right now. I'd have to look it up. But it was around 1980. He made a book called the Golden Turkey Awards. And that's in that book is where he labeled Plan 9 from Outer Space as being the worst film ever made.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of people think that way, because of that book.
And everybody naturally goes, "Oh, the worst movie ever made. Oh my God, I have to find a copy of this and watch it." And then, and here we are today still, it's, and the world has changed and the filmmaking industry has changed. Technology has changed so much, but here we are. We're doing a live podcast. I watched the movie on Amazon streaming. It's like it's found a way to stay alive, and it bears conversation, and it's worth talking about and celebrating, and it's in its own way. Is it truly the worst movie ever made? Of course not. I don't know what is. I don't. If I know. Is that an answer you're willing to share?
And there's even worse. Well, you know what? A Tor Johnson movie,
Beast of Yucca
Flats is pretty unwatchable.
Where he plays the monster.
It's a cool name, but oh my gosh, it's just this. It's a movie where basically one of these movies where they lost the sound for it, so they had to redub a lot of narration. You're in trouble when half the movie's narrated. I think it's a like Coleman Francis movie, by the way, if you know that director. Did some really weird stuff. You got to look the guy up. He's Coleman Francis is what people I think some would think Ed Wood is, like an unknown director. No, this guy, he's got a few movies out from the 50s and 60s. They're just like bad and but the Beast of Yucca Flats,
it's pretty much like a half hour of Tor Johnson just stumbling through the woods.
Yeah, through the desert. Yeah,
or through the desert or whatever, and. Manos: The Hands of Fate. That's
not that bad.
That one's a little bit worse than Plan 9 from Outer Space.
But it's got that culty thing with it now. If you're into it, you know. But Yucca Flats, BC Yucca Flats is just like like you were saying earlier. It said boring bad. It's not fun bad. You know. It's I want my hour and a half back. You know, it was just. Or I could have been sleeping. I could have been doing anything but watching this thing.
It looks like you're preaching to the choir. People are saying now they got to watch it. So your warnings didn't work. Now they're gonna. That's how it works, right? People want to seek it out. They go, "Oh, I got to see this," right? You got to see it to believe it.
We hosted Beast of Yucca Flats, and people. I think people were falling asleep halfway through.
What about Frankenstein Island?
Oh, that one's really bad.
If you can dig, we showed that a few times on our show, but
that's a really bad movie.
If you can dig that one up, holy mackerel!
Yeah.
You will not believe it. Rivals Plan 9 in some of the inventions and stuff.
Plan 9 is more entertaining. Frankenstein Island's very boring. Very boring. It has a few interesting scenes, but
it's not what it sounds like. It's you just sitting there going, "What am I watching?"
Yeah.
And that's it, right? I think it's maybe easy to make a boring movie, but this isn't, for all its warts and imperfections. It is not boring. It doesn't drag. It's just a blast. It's a blast to watch. It's a joy to talk about, and just Ed Wood as a person and an enigma is just very fascinating to read and discuss. So this was a fantastic choice. I'm so excited you guys brought this one to us. It's been awesome to talk to you guys about this film. We did have a huge question in the chat, and I think they just jumped out of the frame, unfortunately. But what's the name of that cat?
Oh, that was Louie.
Oh, that's Louie. That's one of our crypt kitties. That's that's Louie.
What's that?
He's not shy. We'll be doing a show, and he'll just,
Oh yeah, time to pet me.
Pet me. I don't care if you're alive. Pet me.
Yeah, I'm surprised Waffles hasn't popped into frame as a cat Waffles, but he's usually screaming at me during the show. So.
Oh yeah, we have 3 of them that run around here, so we know how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. We love pet cameos here on this show. It's always.
Yeah, we're good for one. And when we're doing our show on Friday night, which we're on tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern time on our Facebook page, the Harry Scary Hangout, we're showing what?
Curse of the Headless Horseman.
Oh, now that might be one of the really bad ones.
That's a kind of bad one. Yeah.
These movies you've never, trust me, there's a reason why you never heard of them. But
it's a 70s movie, and it was supplied by Something Weird Video.
Yeah, perfect. Well, let me say, if anybody's watching or listening and they aren't familiar with you guys, I can't recommend your show enough. I said I was a huge fan of the Tapa show, and that's absolutely true. I love that you guys are keeping the horror host legacy and the torch lit. You know, I've kind of told my sort of horror movie origin story here on the show before, but the way I got into scary movies was as a kid, staying up past my bedtime, having Big Chuck and Little John on the screen.
Oh.
And, being exposed to these movies I had no business watching as a kid. And it was Candyman and Nightmare on Elm Street and Critters. And they all freaked me out so damn bad. But I was too petrified to get up and turn the TV off. So I would just be held captive watching them. And so horror hosts and that kind of program and that legacy always has a very warm spot in my heart, and you don't see enough of it these days. You have Last Drive-In on Shudder with Joe Bob Briggs, right? But just you don't see that very often still these days. So I really appreciate the work you guys are doing, the show that you have, and keeping that aspect of horror alive, because I think it's still very underappreciated and underrepresented. So I love it. If you haven't seen Harry Scary Hangout, you've got to tune in on Facebook, right? Just on Facebook, I believe.
On Facebook, and then after the Harry Scary Hangout, we have a little after party chat show, the Harry Scary Hangover, and we'll talk about movies or. It's
over on YouTube. We switch it up.
Yeah, on our YouTube channel. That's what I meant.
So around midnight, we do that show for about an hour or so, and we come up with topics and stuff, or sometimes just whatever, it kind of creates itself. But our live show tomorrow night, we have a new episode 10 p.m.
Episode 115.
115 we're up to. Yep.
Yeah.
Cranking them out.
Been doing this 3 years live streaming, but we've been the Mummy and the Monkey almost 7 years. Wow. We started out putting videos together and sending it into public access cable stations.
Perfect.
For 7 years, we have nothing else better to do than to do now. We love it, man. We love this. It's so much fun, and to get the. Did you see that art? Where's that artwork that we got?
It's way over there.
Let me show you this.
Okay.
What we get from some of my fans. It's pretty neat.
Yeah. We're very grateful for the fans, and it, especially now during this whole pandemic thing.
What are you talking about?
I think it's a great way for people to get their mind off of things. And just hang out and watch a bad movie.
Right, and we talk and we chat like this. In between the breaks, we show some skits we come up with. We have our little menagerie of characters that we've come up with over the past couple of years, and we get really cool fan art like this submission. Here, check this out, baby.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's
pretty
wonderful.
Nice.
So thank you, Phil.
Loving it. Thank you, Philly, baby. All right.
Yeah. You guys have got great fans. I can definitely see that you've brought quite a few of them over with you tonight. So we appreciate anybody giving our show a shot here tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure, if you did not to miss the next one, go ahead and if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe there. Like us on Facebook, on Twitch. You can follow us there as well. Next week, we will be talking about a newer film. Next week is our episode for Saint Maud, which just came out this past month. New A24 horror film. We'll actually have a little bit of an announcement about that episode coming out in the next couple of days, but that'll go up on the 25th. Can't wait for that. And then we'll also be announcing our March calendar, naturally. We're going to have more guests on, more movies to talk about. We're still just getting started with our new 2021 format. So be sure to come back and hang out with us and talk about scary movies, whether they're brand new and we don't know what they're about quite yet or what they're like, or if they're these amazing camp cult classics from the 50s. You never know what we'll talk about on this show. Thanks again, guys, so much for coming on tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
Our pleasure, fellas. We hopefully can do it again sometime,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We would love that.
We would love to have you back. Thank you so much, C-Tech, subscribing to Really Scared. Thank you. We really appreciate it. You guys have a great night. Everybody have a great night. Thank you for watching us and listening to us. We'll see you next week, and make sure you tune in to the Harry Scary Hangout tomorrow night.
Mwah. Good night. Good fright, guys.
Stay spooky.